Welcome to CARDESIGN.ACADEMY, and this is going to be the exciting conclusion of the SL Coupe exterior. Following today's demo, we're going to start progressing to the interior. And so, as you can see, I've developed this very sexy, very luxurious, elegant sports coupe and this matching aerial vehicle. Actually, the aerial vehicle came first as sort of this abstract form study, and literally I morphed the aerial vehicle into the shape of this very elegant sort of front-engined rear-wheel drive coupe. Although I could see this thing also being battery electric and having this very low hood between the fenders. Also got into some very interesting detailing with the front-end graphic with the prominent Mercedes star. I've also added some skirting details. And in the last video, we went through the wheel design and showing how you can very quickly generate spokes and rims using polar symmetry, and even getting into like this Mercedes logo Easter egg at the center. I've also continued some refinements to the body surfacing. As I do these demos, I keep looking at the body surfacing and just really trying to perfect the sculpting of that body side. It's just a very, very elegant sculptural body side. So today I'm going to work on the parting lines, and the parting lines are a very important element of any car design. Normally they're cut into the body. If you were doing this in Alias, for example, you'd be projecting and trimming cut lines out of the surface. Well, in Sub D, you can't really do that without doing some major surgery and losing a lot of the continuity of the body. So what I use, I have a very simple technique that I use with the ink brush. What I'll do is create a new layer. I'm going to call it Cut Lines. I'm going to give it 50% transparency. I'm going to select my ink brush, and I'm also going to give it a flat black shader material, and then I'm just going to work on getting the right thickness to that line. But as you can see, what you get is this very sort of light sort of pencil line. It looks like it was drawn on the car. So before I do that, I'm going to also set up a couple of reference planes. So I'm going to set up another layer, and I'm going to call it, I'll just call it layer 2 for now because I'm just going to delete it. But what I do is I using the primitive planer tool and maybe picking a brighter color. So make it like a flat white. And I'm going to also give this transparency. And so what I do is I use this as a reference for how to make the cut lines look really nice and continuous on the surface. The front door cut's especially difficult because it has to cross over all of these voluptuous forms. And what you don't want it to look like is a ball of twine as it crosses over. You want it to look like it looks like a very well-crafted line in all views. So what I do is, what I'll do is set up a plane at about a 45-degree angle and align it where I think the A pillar is going to be touching down and meeting the windscreen. So I'll bring that back just a little bit, and you'll see I get this very you can see what happens. I get this very winding line. So I'm going to just use this as a bit of a starting point, and then I'll just go in and craft that line. So I'm going to lock this layer, go back to my cut lines layer, and using my ink brush, going back to flat black, maybe thin it up just a little bit. A little too thin. There we go. So I'm using this plane as a reference. I'm gonna just sketch it out as closely as I can, and then I'm just going to edit those points and simplify. take as many of these points out as I can. And then what I'm going to do is, using the plane as a reference and also using the actual body skin as a reference, I'm just going to add and subtract points so that this line is really hugging the surface. I used to spend hours taping cut lines on the clay models, and no longer do we have to do that because you can do it all right here. So now that I have that line pretty well dialed in, matching the plane, I'm going to just turn that plane off for a second. Make sure you keep your body layer locked. Now, I want to tune that line so it's got a little more of this going on. So I'm going to go in and just take these 3 points and move them a bit forward. This is where it takes a lot of trial and error to get this right. Because what you want is a line that looks at least halfway decent from all angles. It's really tough to get right. So now I'm just trying to work on getting it looking decent in the side view. That's starting to look pretty decent for most angles. I'm gonna just thicken the line slightly, just by grabbing these points and just using my thumb joystick. I can add a little bit of thick and thin to this line as well. I'll probably continue to edit this line, but that is pretty close. So and maybe I'll just lean it forward a little bit more too. Actually, the more I lean it forward, and perhaps I'm going to turn on my reference plane. If I lean it forward a bit, I can bypass that really deep section of the body. Maybe simplify that curve a little bit. And it'll also give that door cut a little more of a dynamic quality. So let's give that a try. We'll just move all these points towards the plane, the reference plane. Maybe I can even get rid of a curve. Maybe not yet. Again, using the body scan and that reference plane as a reference. Then maybe I can just pull that bottom part back a little bit so it doesn't have so much undulation. So at this point, I'm going to turn off the reference layer again. But that is a much more attractive cut line. It's more dynamic. It kind of leans with the car. I might even, again, start to change direction a little further down here. So it's just got a nice sweet arc to it. Simplify the number of points where possible. Yeah, that's a much more successful line. I mean, that line looks almost good from almost every angle. There's almost no undulation, no snaking. The rear door cut might be a little more difficult, but let's see. So I'm going to do is turn on my reference plane again. And this time I'm going to intersect it with the body back here. What I'm trying to do is get a really interesting dynamic line that kind of flows with the forms. So so I'm going to go ahead and just sketch that out. Simplify points. And again, just try to follow the skin as best I can. And this is where it gets interesting, because I'm not gonna follow the curve exactly, or the plane exactly, because then I'm gonna get this weird undulation. So I'm gonna just use it as a general reference. And then maybe I'll follow the character line. So now if I turn off my reference plane again, let's make a few adjustments. We add a little bit of thickness here and there. It's starting to look like a nice line from just about every angle without a lot of undulation. You know, a lot of times people just draw these just dead vertical lines. You know, these just dead vertical door cuts, and door cuts really need to have a lot of flow to them. And really flow with the design. I'm actually going to give this cut line layer a little more darkness. There we go. So from almost every angle, these cut lines, they flow nice. They don't snake around. And using those intersecting planes really helps to just get everything close, and then you can just fine tune it from there. And you just look at it from all angles, and if you see any snaking or any weird undulations, you know, just push and pull points till it looks good in every dimension, in every angle. So I'm just going to run a shut line off the headlamp. That'll be the bonnet. Again, I'm just going to bend that line down into the base of into the corner of the headlamp. Yeah, again, just getting it as close to the skin as possible. Looking for any undulations or weird curvatures. It's looking pretty good. And you can see that the rest of the hood kind of floats over the lamps and the grille, so we don't really have to do any more than that. We might do is put a all right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a pillar here. We're going to do this will be the top of the door frame. And I'm going to again simplify the points and get everything really nicely aligned to the surface. You know, look at it from all angles. Just try to get the side view and plan view working together. What I might do is bring this back a little bit. You can add a lot of character to a vehicle just by how you design the cut lines and the pillars. What I'm thinking about is the original SL had this very aircraft inspired canopy like greenhouse. So I'm giving it a little bit of like a snap at the header. And then what I'm going to do is draw the windshield header. And how that line lays on the surface is really important. This is going to serve as a guide for how I design the interior, especially with regards to the headliner and the pillar trim. being that this is like a Mercedes, I want it to have a flatter brow across the header, so it's not so as opposed to like an Italian car where you might have a more of an arcing line. This has got a more of a flatter appearance across the header. And then this thing is also going to have, being that this is probably going to have a gull wing door, so I'm going to run another shut line just over the windscreen and then down the rear, and simplify the points. I'm actually going to align it with the graphic here. So I'm going to bring these out just a little bit. So this would be the shut line for the gull wing door. What I might do is bring this one down a bit, so it becomes more like a DeLorean style division of dropping glass. So you can see how much more added depth and realism cut lines give you, and this is a pretty quick and efficient way to make them look like they're either drawn on the vehicle or even cut into the vehicle without the effort of having to physically cut them out of the surface and try to regain surface continuity. So this car just keeps getting more and more complete, and I think at this point I feel very happy about the exterior. So the next stage is going to be to start to design the interior. And first thing we're going to do is make the glass transparent, and then design the pillar structure, the headliner, and all of that stuff to really give this car some dimension. So thanks for watching CARDESIGN.ACADEMY, and I hope to catch you again as we delve into the interior. Thanks for watching.